Hello everybody and welcome back to another CB Show Tunes tutorial. Now today what we're going to do is we're going to be continuing our third part of our Unity tutorial on creating a video game. Now today what we were going to do is we're going to create these nodes, or more like create the script for these nodes and being able to collect these nodes as you see here. What this will do is it will have like a specific type of resource. It will have a collect time, it will have a reset time or respawn time, and it will also allow us to have this little slider on top. We'll also have like a player inventory system. It's going to be a very simple player inventory system. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. Now the first thing that you will need to do is have your player right over here and have them tagged as player. The second thing that we will need to do is have an inventory script, and this is not a very difficult inventory script. As I said before, it's just a basic one. You have a couple public ints or integers, and we have wood, iron, and gold. This is just something that I set up right there. So if you want to copy that and put that inside your game, that's pretty cool. And then of course what we're going to do is we'll be updating our resource node. Now if you have been following along inside my previous tutorials, then you will have this basic setup of the scenery, environment, and of course these green spaces in the area. Now to modify these spaces, make sure that you did create our prefab folder, and then what you're going to do is have these placed wherever you want them to be placed, right? But inside this we're going to select one of the resource nodes that you might have that's empty, and you're going to simply add a canvas. So what I did was I added a slider, so I right clicked on the 3D object, went over to UI, and then grabbed myself a slider. Now once you have that canvas set up with your slider inside it, you're going to need to go over to the canvas and actually change it to world space, and this will allow it to be anywhere inside the scene instead of just on your camera. Lastly, we're going to go over here to the widths and heights. I changed it to 800 by 600. You could change it to whatever. And I also changed the scale down to a 0.005 on the X and a 0.01 on the Y. This way we still maintain our good graphics, but at the same time we can make it smaller so it will fit inside our scene. Our slider is a basic slider. I did delete one of the effects on there, and I'll go and show you that real fast. So we're going to add a slider real fast. If you notice, we don't have this handlebar. And the reason why we don't is because I simply deleted it. I also selected our fill area and made sure that this was set to 5. Okay, so that's about it with that. And of course I added this little cube inside the center, and just so we could use that as like our visual aid. Say for instance, if we run into the resource and all, we don't want us to be able to slip right through it, so that's sort of there just for that. Now to apply this resource node to all your other nodes, make sure that you select the node you edited, and then just simply come up here to your inspector where it says prefab, and then select apply, and it will change all the rest of the prefabs inside the scene. So all those right there change whenever you update one. Okay, so let's go ahead and just check out the script, because that's sort of what we're actually going to be covering today. And this is going to be just the basic rundown of the mill sort of thing that you could cover, and it's very simple to actually follow along with. So this will be inside the comments section below, so if you want to just copy the script and then apply it inside your game, you're free to do so. Also, if you just want an explanation, just follow along. Okay, so types. We created 3 different public booleans, one called wood, one called iron, one called gold. So say for instance, if I select this resource node, you're going to notice we have wood, iron, gold. I can select any one of these and it will provide that resource into our character. So say for instance I select 2 and then we press play, and let's go ahead and just back out of that. So we hold down E, and let's just go ahead and select our player now. As you can see, we have 2 in iron because when inside our script we have it set up with else statements. Now I'm actually going to adjust that real fast before we actually continue on inside this, because I think it'd be pretty cool to be able to collect multiples. So let's go and just that and that. We're going to erase that. Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and get it back to the top. So that's exactly what these booleans do. They basically just allow us to provide resources for our player inventory. Next, we have a timer. So we have a public float set for set collect time, and we also have a public float for cur collect time. This basically is going to be how much time it takes you to collect a resource. Then we have a mountain node. So current amount node would be an integer, and max amount is also an integer. For visual aid, we're going to be using a public slider called resource node slider. And I'm also going to press Control X and place that right there actually. So yeah, and we also have a public game object called visual object. This is going to be like if you have a, I don't know, like a piece of wood that you want to use instead of just a block. You could just replace the visual object with that. Okay, this is the def function. So basically public bool is empty. So whenever our current amount is equal to 0 or less than 0. We also have a respawn time. So public float max respawn time, and public float cur respawn time. Alright, so now we have our void start function. Now this is going to be the basics of just setting everything or presetting everything. So we have isEmpty is equal to false, basically saying we're not dead yet. We're setting our current amount is equal to max amount. We're going to be setting our resource node slider max amount to, or max value will be equal to our max amount, and of course our current value equal to value, and so on. Okay, so I changed the void update function to void fixed update, so this happens after all the other calculations inside the scene. So you're going to notice these 2 different functions inside this. It's going to be check info and check slider, and we'll cover those right now. So we created this public void called check info. If you notice, that's that one right there. And inside this, all we're calling is if our current amount is less than or equal to 0, we're going to set isEmpty is equal to true. We're also going to disable our visual object and our resource node slider. So we're basically making both of these equal to false on active. Sort of like just selecting this button right here and making the player invisible. We're doing the same thing with our resource nodes as well. Okay, so we also have if is empty, then we're going to activate respawn timer. So this will be continuously moving while we're empty. Otherwise, it won't run. All right, so as you can see, we had another function called check slider. So if we open that function up, you're going to notice that it says resource node slider dot max value is equal to max amount, and the normal value is equal to current amount. It's the same thing that we called up here. This is just calling it once, while this is calling it constantly. And it's a very good idea to set it there, unless of course this is not going to change. So if you have this set to like a random number, then you will need to have this update constantly. If it's only going to be a set number though, you don't need it to update constantly. Okay, we have the respawn effect now. So basically inside this, isEmpty is equal to false, current respawn time is equal to max respawn time, current amount is equal to max amount, visual objects dot set object is or set active is equal to true, and same thing with the resource node slider. So this is like the counteractive to the check info right here. Okay, and then we have the respawn timer. So this actually tells us when we can respawn. So it uses something similar to our method when we collect stuff actually, but it's a little bit different. So we have cur respawn time minus equals 0.01 f. We have if cur respawn time is less than or equal to 0, activate respawn. Okay, and lastly we have void on trigger stay. So, the collider other. If our other tag is equal to player, this is the reason why I said make sure that you have your player set to player. Then we put if we get our key E down. So basically input.getKey, keycode.e, as long as it's down or being held down and we're not empty or is empty is equal to false, we're going to say cur collect time minus equals 0.01 f. And if cur collect time is less than or equal to 0, cur amount minus equals 1. So we're going to constantly be decreasing 1 if this is going to be equal to 0. But it's not going to be constantly equal to 0 because right after we set cur amount minus, we're going to say cur collect time is equal to set collect time. And lastly, we're going to say call these functions. And this adds to our inventory. So we're going to say if wood is equal to true, then other.getComponent player inventory dot wood plus equals 1. And we did the same thing with iron, same thing with gold. And of course, if we take a look at the last if statement inside this, it's just if we get our key up. So basically whenever we release the E key, and as long as we're not empty, we're going to set our cur collect time is equal to set collect time. So it resets the timer. And that's about it right there. So we're going to go ahead and press play real fast. I'm going to show you guys how this works, live time and all. And I'm also going to show you how we can update this real fast on all the cubes. So let's go ahead and just set the collect time to let's say a 0.5, and then let's also set the max amount to max amount's good actually, and respawn time's good as well. So yeah, all right, that looks good. So we're going to press play. We're also going to select our player so we can see our resources. And I don't actually believe we set these resource nodes. Oh, I did. Okay, great. So let's go and just set that like to that, that to that, that to that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and just start collecting stuff. So I walk up to this one. As you can see, iron and gold are going up. That's awesome. It destroys itself. Let's run over to this one right here. Okay, so this is one of those that doesn't have anything on it. So we can run over to the next one. As you can see, our iron's going up. If I can get on the resource node. There we go. Oh, and I did actually forget to press apply, but that's all good. But yeah, so as you can see, it works on every single one of these, which is awesome. And now we just need to take away the coloring. So select our first resource node because we did modify it. And we're going to take off the iron and gold and then hit apply so it activates on every single one of them. And we also want to go over to the mesh render and we're just going to take that away. So now we're going to hit apply one more time and all the resource nodes now are updated, they're complete, and we can run up to any one of these and actually collect our resources, which is super, super awesome. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure that you leave a like, subscribe, comment inside the comment section below if you have any questions, if you're excited about the video, and also if you are interested in learning anything else that is new or not new, that sort of thing. Alright, our next tutorial video will be about adding animations and a character to this scene. So we're not going to be walking around with this little capsule collider anymore. We're going to actually be walking around with a actual player. So that'll be super awesome and cool. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.